Oh, we are. Can we say we're live? Can we do that?
Live-ish.
We're live-ish. We are live-ish.
Pre-taped edition of the Two Bros Wrestling Show, still coming to you at our normal times, and we might not be able to take your comments during the broadcast, but leave comments in the comment section on whatever platform you're watching us on, and we will answer each and every one of them, because we're talking about something that's going to affect all wrestling fans this upcoming weekend, Doug, and that is an abundance of pay-per-views that we will be previewing tonight in our main event.
But not all of the pay-per-views, right? Because we're two, right? Not say three.
We're handling the major companies in that we're doing Night of Champions as well as AEW's Double or Nothing. However, in my miscalculation, it just it didn't dawn on me until watching NXT this past week. I'm like, wait a minute, Battleground. Like, oh, that NXT's having Battleground on the same night as AEW's Double or Nothing. They've gone on the same day before. And what they've done is if I recall, NXT did like an afternoon show and to not like go head to head with AEW. But I'm guessing if you're on if you're streaming on Peacock and they don't have to worry about buy rates, this might be hey, let's hit Tony where it hurts and see if we can take some of his money out of his pocket by going head to head.
Yeah.
But all of that, Doug, all of that is our main event topic. Before we even get to there, we got ourselves an opening bell.
Because there's been absolutely no wrestling news recently of any substance.
So much wrestling news. Let's start, though, with Dougie's favorite topic, AEW, and the big news that is kind of news, I guess, in that it's official, but it's sure we've known about it for a while, but it is now official. AEW made their announcement that Collision is going to be the expansion of AEW's TV empire. Worst kept secret in wrestling for a couple of months, but still, it is huge news for AEW. Details of the arrangement are coming to light thanks to the announcement being official. So a few takeaways that are facts, and that is a new weekly series is going to start 8 o'clock, 2 hours Saturday nights. So returning to Turner Networks on a Saturday night has a lot of history to it. First time in several decades. They made a point to pull that out in the news release, but that show starts on the 17th of June. Tony addressed the announcement on Dynamite after they had the announcement at the Upfronts earlier that day, provided a little additional context. The news release, Doug, mentions names that are associated with Collision, including Powerhouse Hobbs, Samoa Joe, as well as talent we've not heard of in a while, like Miro and Thunder Rosa and a returning Andrade. So the inclusion of these names, instead of just saying AEW talents or mentioning folks like the Elite or what have you, that it seems very deliberate when you're talking Samoa Joe and Powerhouse and Miro, that there will be some sort of brand split, though that was not made official. Right. That was never said. And of course, the most interesting part of all this is that the news release did not address the other part of the rumor we've all been hearing for months, and that is the expected return of CM Punk, Doug.
Right. Because I guess maybe originally there was some press about Punk, but that kind of got rubbed away for some reason.
So right before we began recording our broadcast, I saw a story that CM Punk may have intentionally or unintentionally attempted to ruin Tony Khan's big day. Apparently, there might be some breakdown in talks between the two, in that Punk was under the assumption that his return would also include a return of his buddy and K9 best friend, Ace Steel, who, infamously bit a man. So not exactly welcome backstage.
Imagine that.
But apparently CM thought that his buddy was going to have a job at Collision. So who knows? They could all still be working us, but you are correct, Doug. There was a press release that had leaked that had Punk's name in it, and then the official release comes out, does not have Punk's name with it. They're either waiting to make it a big surprise because Tony obviously likes to tease out these announcements. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see on the rumored CM Punk. But it is an interesting approach. Obviously, it's Punk, which means I guess anything in this scenario is possible.
Sure.
Bottom line, though, AEW did have a very big announcement. There's a lot to unpack from this that wasn't a part of the announcement. How much money is it worth? It's rumored it's 5 years and say 240 million a year. That's what like some outlets were reporting. None of that's official or confirmed. Obviously, that'd make a huge difference in AEW's profitability, long-term future. There's talk about maybe some synergy with the new Max service and Warner Brothers Discovery, that Tony might have him a streaming home now. So there's a lot that might be part of this that we don't know yet. And then we might know later. So we're going to dedicate an entire episode of this in June, the week before Collision starts. So right before Collision's debut, we're going to get together and discuss with the folks out there everything that we know about the deal, as well as the good and bad of what this may mean for AEW. Because, you know, I mean, when WCW back in the day added a third hour of Nitro and a whole other program in Thunder, it didn't exactly work out great in the end. So there are some pitfalls to stretching yourself thin, and we'll get all into that in a special episode when we have all the time for that one, because Doug, ain't nobody got time for that now.
Ain't nobody got time for that. So much wrestling, Kevin. So much wrestling.
That's because we have some follow-up to our last week's main event topic, that being more information on the sale of WWE to Endeavor. First and foremost is we now know that the combined UFC WWE company will be known as TKO Group Holdings. Much better than what we were thinking last week when we did our show. They didn't try to overthink it with TKO, obviously, but it is sometimes simple is best, and it's fitting for what they have with combat sports, one scripted, one not. TKO. I like it.
Much better. I like this much better. You know, the Tony Khan organization, TKO, I love it. That's right?
I think that's the other guy. I think that's the other guy.
Gotcha.
Also related to the WWE sale, we now have confirmation that Vince McMahon staying on with WWE. We speculated on it last week, but we now know that that was actually a condition of the deal. So documents filed with the SEC show that Endeavor originally proposed in February a deal where WWE shareholders would own 43% of a merged company. Then they came back in a second meeting between Ari Emanuel, Mark Shapiro of Endeavor, and Vince and Nick Khan of WWE. And at that second meeting, that was March 23rd, they improved their percentage offer to what was accepted, that a final version of 49% for WWE shareholders, Endeavor owning the other 51% of the new merged company. But interestingly, though, the very next day, March 24th, Endeavor presented additional documentation through their legal team that sweetened the deal even more. And that was making Vincent Kennedy McMahon the executive chairman of WWE until death, resignation, or incapacity. Also noting that Vince was offered the power to pick 5 of the 11 board seats and have certain veto rights. So, Doug, we speculated on this, but this is pretty much confirmation. One, the old man ain't going anywhere, and
nowhere.
He is a crafty old snake, is he not?
You know, you gotta applaud not only the effort, but I mean this is like some Darth Sidious level manipulation, and I mean
high level, man, high level. If you have a pencil thin mustache out there, twirl it, folks, because props where they're due.
I mean,
Vince is there until he's dead or incapacitated, so I don't know how quickly either of those things will come around. He might. The French vampires tend to last a very long time.
Man, that mustache is going to keep him trucking for some time, dude.
Another thing that was revealed in the SEC paperwork is that WWE apparently had up to 60 suitors with 20 of those serious enough that they entered into confidentiality agreements while they all kicked the tires on potential offers. So no wonder Vince got his $9 billion plus, because apparently that wasn't the only dance partner they potentially could have had. That's a lot of folks bidding. A lot.
I mean, the man knows his business for sure.
And it definitely, who knows about creative long term, but business wise, for someone who's, the age of Vince McMahon, pretty good deal.
Absolutely.
And fans, if you didn't check out last week's episode, we feel like we did a pretty definitive deep dive on the sale of WWE and its pending merger with UFC. So definitely go check that out if you haven't.
Absolutely.
Doug, moving on.
Yes.
They say to dress for the job you want, and Seth Rollins has obviously been wanting to be a comic book villain for some time now.
I've said it, dude. I've said it.
It's happening. Leaked on-set photos from the upcoming Captain America New World Order film have confirmed that Rollins is in fact involved. The fourth Cap film will also feature no lightweights in Julia Louis-Dreyfus and Harrison Ford. Pretty good company for Mr. Rollins. And who knows? I mean, what this could lead to. There's speculation, but no real confirmation, Doug, as to what villainous role that Rollins will be playing. You're a resident comic book geek. Do you have any insight on that?
So it's my understanding that one of the main groups, not the main big bad, but one of the groups within it is the Serpent Society. In the comics, they're, of course, very snake themed. It seems they're more like apocalyptic barbarian themed, or at least Rollins from the set photos we've seen, if this is the Serpent Society. And I'm not sure which member of the Serpent Society, but I think that's what group he'll be involved with. But other than that, not really sure who they are, because, I can say, oh, that's the Cobra, or that's the Serpent, but
right.
In their post-apocalyptic dystopian barbarian costumes, I don't know what snake is what.
Yeah, I whatever role he ends up playing, obviously being involved in the MC freaking you is
right. See, I like that.
Good money for Becky's child. So here we go. Moving on, more WWE news earlier this month. Actually, let's talk geopolitical news. What do you say? Earlier this month, Doug, Syria was readmitted to the Arab League. Doesn't seem like something we'd be reporting on here on the Two Bros Wrestling Show, but days after this, Syria and Saudi announced that they would intend at least to reestablish diplomatic ties with one another. And now your wrestling content, this is apparently the only reason that anyone can point to as to why suddenly Sami Zayn is going to be welcome in the country of Saudi Arabia, or why he agreed to do it in the first place. Obviously, we're going to get to our predictions and previews here in a bit, but Sami has not been on any of the Saudi shows up till now, and he was kept off these events because of his Syrian heritage and his outspokenness on the country his parents fled from in the 1970s when they immigrated to Canada. KO, of course, being the good friend that he is, just like, hey, Sami ain't going, I'm not going. And now apparently Sami's going. All right, we'll do this.
Yep.
That's a good brother.
That's a good brother for sure.
That's a good brother. Obviously, there's a lot of to unpack with the whole Saudi situation, and let's just say stay safe, Sami, and hope it all goes well. Yeah. But that is why, if you wonder why suddenly there's Sami in a prominent position on a Saudi show, that is the only reason that we believe, though not ever officially confirmed by anyone in WWE.
Right.
Vice Media has filed for bankruptcy, and the reason this affects wrestling fans is that Vice is the home of the popular Tales from the Territories and the even more popular Dark Side of the Ring. Dark Side actually returns for its long-awaited fourth season here on May 30th, so just here in a little bit. Vice was once a very hot property. However, as the filing was done, obviously it's fallen on some hard times of late, but not necessarily all negative, because this filing does make it easier for a potential sale of Vice, and Vice claims to have at least one, offer on the table for like $225 million currently, and any sale would include Vice properties. So Dark Side and the Dark Side series would go with the sale. So all is not necessarily lost, but Vice is definitely in need of money if anybody wants to start a GoFundMe out there.
Get on that right now.
Yeah, get on that. Let's get that going, Doug.
Right.
Hey, while we're talking TV shows, we learned something previously unknown thanks to the most recent episode of WWE's Most Wanted Treasures last Sunday on A&E. The episode was on Randy Savage, and it included footage from Randy's days with International Championship Wrestling. So apparently WWE has acquired the ICW library, and per PW Insider's Mike Johnson, a collection of 20 boxes of master tapes from ICW are in fact in the possession of WWE. So ICW lasted it was a short run promotion, like 1978 to 1984. It was ran by Randy's father, Angelo Poffo. And it featured, obviously, his son, Randy Poffo, as well as Leapin' Lanny Poffo, Randy Savage's brother, Cowboy Bob Orton, Pistol Pez Watley, the Batten twins, many other stars of the day all passed through the territory, which was based in Kentucky, so right here in our backyards. Doug, did you ever see ICW in the day? Because there actually was a station when I was young, and it was one of those weird, if they weren't showing anything else things and you just catch, there was no set time, but every now and then, really cheaply produced, you could catch wrestling.
I'm trying to think of the Poffos and where I first saw the Poffos. I think maybe I did catch some of that early stuff because, you had, Angelo Poffo, the miser, and Leaping Lanny and Randy Poffo. But, yeah, I remember this, but I just don't know if it was if that's the territory or if they moved on at that point.
If you, in your childhood memories, if it looks like they're wrestling in a poorly lit high school gym, it probably was ICW. I'm hoping WWE does more with that tape library than just pull it for clips. They need to get more of that stuff on Peacock. There's all that Smoky Mountain stuff. They're sitting on lots of libraries that they actually haven't done much with yet. So want to see more of that old school wrestling stuff. And Doug, speaking of old school wrestling, let's end before we move to our main event topic with some sad news as the wrestling world lost a legendary performer this week with the death of superstar Billy Graham. Superstar was 79, and during the past year, he's dealt with COVID. He had a life-threatening ear infection that spread to his skull. He had renal failure, and he was in really poor shape the last year. So, he was suffering, but no one less than the Nature Boy himself was the one who actually broke the news when he took to his social accounts saying that that Superstar had passed, and how if it wasn't Superstar, there would be no Ric Flair, there would be no Hulk Hogan. I mean, and he went on, and this isn't just old school guys giving each other credit, or a young Flair was impressed by Superstar Graham. Graham changed the business. He was one of the very first guys you could call a body guy. Big muscly, came out of the world of bodybuilding. He was very colorful and flamboyant at a time that was a lot more novel. And if you go back and look at the old Superstar with the boas and the long hair, and then you fast forward and you look at Hulk Hogan and Jesse Ventura, it's very obvious, and neither of those two would deny where they got it from was Superstar Billy Graham. He was seen, because he was a body guy and a character more than he was an actual solid in-ring performer. In many ways, a lot of folks consider him one of the first, if not the first, sports entertainer. He also was one of the first wrestlers who, unfortunately for all involved, was at the forefront of the steroid use and the steroid era of professional wrestling. He later in his life would become anti-steroid advocate just because of the toll it all took on his health. It should be noted that many of those steroids back in those days was not illegal to do, and folks didn't know the full harm. of what they were doing to themselves to get those huge muscles like Billy Graham had. But he started in 1969, coming up out of the world of bodybuilding. He would wrestle consistently through 1990, but by far his heyday was through the 1970s, first in the AWA, then in the WWF and NWA. He won titles everywhere, way too many for us to go into, but he is a former WWF world champion, defeating the legendary Bruno Sammartino. He was inducted into both the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. He's also a member of the WWE Hall of Fame. And it is inarguable that the wrestling world would look a lot different today if not for Superstar's influence. Doug, I know Graham was kind of the generation before you and I really got to be wrestling fans, but he did wrestle through the 80s. I have some memories. Do you have any memories of Graham in those years?
Only like some passing of the torch documentaries that I saw later in life where, Hulk Hogan basically replaces, superstar Billy Graham. I mean, down to like the Fu Manchu, is that what it's called? And all that. But actually him wrestling, no, I never actually caught any of that.
So he was briefly on my radar, 83, 84. He had a run in Mid-Atlantic. And by that time, he ditched his long blonde locks. He'd shaved his head bald, was just going with a goatee, and had like basic attire, like plain, like almost like a kickboxing pants and things. And he, almost was working like a Rambo looking gimmick with the headband, and definitely not the same flamboyant character that he's most known for. But I do remember Paul Jones bringing him in to help rid Mid-Atlantic of Boogie Woogie Man Jimmy Valiant. So that's kind of my memory of Superstar. And then like you go back, thanks to the access we all have now to the historic material, and can really fully appreciate exactly what Superstar meant in the 1970s to professional wrestling. So rest in peace, Superstar Billy Graham. With that, Doug, are you ready to talk the 5-6 pay-per-views that are happening next weekend?
I don't know. It seemed like the news took like 30 minutes. There's so much going on this week. I know.
It was a very big week in wrestling.
And we're not, as of this recording, we're not really all the way through the week. Yeah.
Let's hope something big doesn't break after we get off air.
I know, editor's notes. Okay, so we have 15 pay-per-views to cover that are happening
15 pay-per-views. We better take them chronologically, because otherwise we'll not remember which of the 15 we've done.
All right. Which one are we chronologically starting?
We will begin with Afternoon of Champions.
Afternoon of Champions. Excellent.
Because it happens on Saturday.
Champions for us?
It's one of it. So it airs on Peacock at 1 p.m. Eastern time for those of us in the United States. This is one of their annual Saudi shows. And regardless of what you think about their arrangement with Saudi Arabia, we've talked pretty extensively on our thoughts. You have to give them credit that at the very least, instead of glorified house shows, they have at least done their part to make these events more worthwhile. And we got a pretty good looking card here, actually, Doug, with some pretty meaningful matches that look like they are going to happen. Let's start, if you would. Let's look at that singles match for the Raw Women's Championship. We have Bianca Belair against new bad girl, I guess, Asuka. She's turned, and I don't know if that's just for the sake of getting this on the card is why they went with the quick turn there. But Belair got a face full of mist this past week, so we got Asuka versus Bianca Belair. But I know she's held the title for maybe more than a minute now, but Bianca is not losing it yet. In my mind, I'm going
with you,
Belair. Nothing against the Empress of Tomorrow.
Agreed. Yeah, Bianca retains.
So singles match then for the WWE Intercontinental Championship. If you want to talk about retaining. I'm sorry. Again, no offense to Mustafa Ali, who deserves way better than what he's usually gets handed. At least he's got a really high profile match. But Doug, to me, this is Mustafa playing the role of Zelina Vega from the last pay-per-view.
Man, but with these two dudes, it has such potential to be such an amazing match. We've got like this almost a David and Goliath thing going too with Gunther and Mustafa. I mean, it's going to be a fun match, but yes, Gunther will retain.
And this is it's Gunther's first defense since he's been moved to the Raw brand, so even more reason to know that he is not losing this yet, not on his first pay-per-view, not to Mustafa Ali. They've done a really good job, Triple H and the creative team, not just with Gunther, who we were worried about when he came from NXT, that like a lot of talent, he was going to be ruined, overlooked. And then the Intercontinental title itself was always that forgotten championship, despite the way that we'd like to fondly remember it. And through Gunther, I would say that they have done a world of good rebuilding the prestige of that title over the last year.
Yes, absolutely.
And that's why it isn't going anywhere.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's not going anywhere.
So if he makes it, Doug, from the airport to the ring, and our next match we have Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens.
Same thing. Looking at what was next.
Sorry, it's true. I'm worried about him. KO and Sami Zayn versus the Bloodline, but not the Bloodline you would think. Doug, let's talk a little bit about how this came about in the feud itself. Do you like the switch? Roman saying basically, you all can't do it. Me and Solo are going to handle it, and we will be. After making such a big deal about I'm not a tag team wrestler, why'd you dedicate it to me? I'm not a tag team. I'm a single star. But now I'm going to be a single star that shows I can do what a tag team can't do.
I mean, he's so good at what he does.
It's so good.
It's so good. This long into this, it's still so good.
So where does it get even better? By Solo and Reigns doing what the Usos couldn't do, and him coming back and going, here you go.
See this? Such a boss move. Here you go.
Or some sort of failure that he then, as a heel, somehow manages to blame on the Usos, even though they're not involved.
Well, they're not involved here as far as the match goes with stipulations. Do we get Uso interference that goes completely wrong? Do we get something like that? And I mean, if somebody in the Bloodline is taking the pin, it's Solo. Not Reigns, but or even I think
it's both simultaneously.
So, or if Uso interference accidentally causes Reigns to get pinned,
and who will be the one doing that pin? I mean, Sammy finally gets his pin on Roman.
Yep.
In Saudi Arabia.
Yep.
Oh wow. Okay, we've talked ourselves into a circle on this one. I'm not so sure now where I want my prediction on this to be.
I know. I'm not sure what.
Drop in the comments. Which of those scenarios do you think actually is more intriguing? Because I see money in either one of them. Obviously, it's all in service of furthering the feud that is now brewing within the Bloodline. And instead of being the center of it, KO and Sammy are actually just sort of the bit players on this one.
Yep.
If they lose the titles, they can stay on. They'll be on Raw, and we'd actually would separate them if we're really trying to break away from this. The fact that the tag champs can go anywhere kind of keeps them in the orbit of the Bloodline. So I'm going to say the Bloodline. Actually, I'm going to say that Roman comes home with yet another championship for Paul to struggle to hold.
All right, I'll go the opposite way on this one, and because I do like the idea of Uso interference costing them, and I'm just gonna go for it all. I'm going for the gold. I'm going for the platinum. Okay, and saying that it's interference that causes Sammy to get the pin on Roman in Saudi Arabia. Absolutely, why not?
There you go. Let's see what we think of this next one, Doug. We got ourselves
okay.
a singles match between Cody Rhodes and Brock Lesnar. It's happening so soon after their last singles contest where Cody bested Brock in a better than most of us probably expected it to be match. Do you see another one? Do you see another really good contest between the two, since they obviously work together and Brock must be a fan of Cody's to actually allow him to work well with him? And does Brock get the victory back, or is this got to be straight ahead Cody Rhodes to keep Cody hot coming out of the disappointment of not finishing his story?
Well, and I think that's the thing that needs to happen here. Cody, I read a few things right after WrestleMania that said Cody hadn't, went through his trials and tribulations yet. So, he had to have his ups and his deep downs before, he really got that big win and finished his story. This goes a long way to, you overcome Brock Lesnar. That's a bucket list right there. Done. Got it. Mark that off the list on my road to redemption, to where I finally do swing around to finish the story. But I think Cody goes over here.
I do too. Obviously, you could have Brock go over and no one would bat an eye, and that believability that Brock Lesnar could beat just about anybody. However, Brock doesn't seem interested anymore necessarily in needing to win or needing to be featured week to week. He's probably got talked into one more big paycheck. Come to the Saudi show. He tends to be on most of these. He's probably just as fine to go back to the ranch with a bunch of millions in his pocket and let Cody go on to his next thing. So I'm going Cody. And this time I'm going Cody slightly more definitively, so that he can have something more to hang his hat on, that I beat Brock Lesnar twice. And this time you can't say it was a fluke. Though he did do a good job in his promo, I would say, to say that it's wrestling. Like, you do whatever you can to best the other man. I didn't cheat. I leveraged and I pinned you. That's wrestling. I'm a better wrestler than you. That's a really good way to take some of the heat off that finish that some folks were not happy about.
Yeah.
Which leads us to the main event, Doug, of this pay-per-view, and proof that, between the Bloodline storyline and Roman wrestling, a Cody Lesnar match that is very prominent story that's being continued here, and now crowning a new world champion. This is proof that WWE is not treating these like house shows anymore.
Absolutely. And what I'm assuming is going to be the main event here. It should be for this championship, this inaugural championship. Seth freaking Rollins and AJ Styles. Come on. For
the World Heavyweight Championship. And it doesn't matter that AJ's been gone for a long time and only recently returned to television. It doesn't matter that AJ Styles is not in his 20s or even his 30s any longer. AJ Styles can still go. That man absolutely has no off switch, and you put him with someone who also can go, like Rollins. This will be an entertaining main event.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. So, AJ's SmackDown guy, right?
That's where I have my problem with this whole tournament setup anyway. There should not have been SmackDown talent involved.
Nope. But so AJ being a SmackDown guy, if AJ wins, does he take the World Heavyweight Championship to SmackDown, where Reigns holds the other 72 belts?
So he goes back to SmackDown. Reigns ends up taking it from him. So that, Reigns is going to have Paul bringing out like a wheelbarrow full of championship.
He's a belt collector.
Triple H will keep having to introduce the interplanetary title, and now we're the cosmic. Just keep having these tournaments to have Roman find a way to end up bringing him over to SmackDown. Would actually be kind of funny, but probably not great television or not good business, I should say.
But so, what are the rules here? Again, I've got to ask because these things confuse me. But what?
Yeah, there is no rules to the tournament. There was a bracket on the Raw side and a bracket on the SmackDown side. I'm going to say that if AJ Styles wins, surely you would have to say this is the champion that we clearly stated was going to be on the brand that Roman Reigns was not. Therefore, AJ Styles is now returned to Raw. But I think that's way more jujitsu than WWE has interest in getting into. AJ has only been back a minute, and while he may be a main eventer in fans' eyes, a permanent main eventer, it's been a while since he's been in the world title scene. The only thing that gives me pause on Seth freaking Rollins is apparently his involvement in the MCU and what those time commitments might be. But I think it's pretty clear that not only does Seth need to win this, keep the belt on Raw, he's more in the main event scene, more of a Raw guy. But when Cody goes to finish his story and goes for that championship, there's a lot of history already there between Seth Rollins and Cody Rhodes.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, in my mind, this has always been the thing for Seth Rollins. But I mean, it's great that, he gets to go through AJ to get it.
I'm honestly surprised. I was a little thrown when Cody didn't just have an easy path all the way to this. I thought this was going to be Cody's prize. But now that I see what could be building and setting up for it, it seems that Seth's going to touch it first and at least hold it for a good part of the year while Cody chases.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, Doug, we are done with Saturday afternoon. Are you ready to move on to the next night, not the NXT show that you can get for free if you already have your subscription to Peacock, but Tony Khan would appreciate your money because, the check hasn't cleared yet from Warner Brothers Discovery. So buy Double or Nothing. Let's talk Double or Nothing, my friend.
Okay, hold on. Let me get my Double or Nothing page pulled up here. Wait, okay. I am ready. Am I ready?
So,
wait. Yeah. What?
Let's
hold on. Wait. I was in the wrong. Okay, got it. Well, I was at the wrong Double or Nothing. I was on 2002's Double or Nothing.
That one is easier to predict.
2022. Anyway, let's do this.
It should be easier to predict, but maybe I'll make some bets with you on it. I think I can make some money.
No.
Doug, let's start with the match that I think is the dumbest one. How about that?
Which one would that be, Kevin?
Well, I love me some Orange Cassidy. I know that you do too. But the idea that I'm going to find anybody that wants a shot at this, and I don't like storylines that make the heel look dumb. You got 20 guys that's supposed to go into Tony Khan's office, and I get the character where you go, oh, that's a lot. That's funny. But then to go, I'll just defend it in a battle royal. I don't like that. I just don't like it. Obviously, the odds are stacked way against them, and we will not go through all 20 competitors, some of whom have yet to be announced. But I do think Orange Cassidy will somehow find a way to win this in a comical fashion, but this will be either an opening contest to get everybody laughing, or it'll be a come-down match somewhere on the card to get everybody laughing.
I agree with everything you just said. I love me some Orange Cassidy, too. But, a battle royal for what? What is this? Yeah, okay, yeah, it's unique. It's got us talking about it. It's got a lot of folks talking about it, and it will be a come down or a starter match. I'm not sure which.
I know that they have this as part of Double or Nothing, but to me, their battle royal at Double or Nothing has never quite been. I mean, to me, the only battle royal that I ever am interested in tends to be Royal Rumble. Besides that, battle royals can be kind of boring, chaotic. Mm-hmm. Hard to predict, no storylines necessarily. So maybe AEW, I know in the past has managed to use the Battle Royal to introduce folks. I don't know if they would try to surprise with somebody showing up or anything along those lines, but I do think that Orange keeps it.
Yeah.
And speaking of keeping it, Doug, let's go to the singles match for the AEW TBS Championship. The Women's Championship, Jade Cargill, who I will say, who's always had the look, but tends to, in my mind anyways, get better and better with each of her in-ring performances as well. I don't think you interrupt that progression and flow she's got going by having her lose here. Though I do love me some Taya Valkyrie, and I'm happy to see her in AEW land. She is just the latest victim to Jade Cargill.
Man, I think we might be agreeing a lot on these two, but yeah, I'm with you there. Jade's gonna keep that title.
And I'm not sure that she shouldn't. Honestly, I
Huh.
think to keep rolling with it. Um, so, Doug, we have let's do the other women's match, which also is intriguing. You have Jamie Hayter, your
Mm-hmm.
AEW Women's Champion, defending against Tony Storm from the Outcast. Tony was the interim champ that was made actual champ, and then I think the progression was she's the one that lost this to Hayter to begin with. So, in
Mm-hmm.
a lot of ways, this is a rematch for that title. Um, I don't know though. Is it Hayter's time to lose yet, or do we need more storyline development? I know that they have a thing going right now with the Outcast and Jamie and Britt and a returning Sheeta now, which was nice to see. Is there
Mm-hmm.
some sort of swerve in all that with all these many female participants, or is it just straight up Jamie Hayter continues to dominate and wins here in a really good match?
I would like to see Hayter come out on top of this, and yeah, I'm gonna go with Hayter here. Like you say, we see her come out on top of this with a really, really good. I mean, it's Jamie Hayter and Tony Storm. It's gonna be a good
I
match.
know. One of the better matches on the whole card, honestly.
Yeah.
This could be a show stealer. Um, Doug, I'm going to save the two world title matches on the
Okay.
men's side for last, even though one of them I don't think is to the level of the other. But I think you know which one I'm talking about. Let's talk the
Okay.
ladder match first with
All
AEW
right.
Championship on the line. You have Wardlow, your champion, with Arn Anderson taking on Christian Cage with Luchasaurus. I know between both these pay-per-views, it feels like I'm saying retain, retain, retain a lot. I probably should have a title change or two in here somewhere. Maybe why I went with the bloodline actually taking him off KO and Sammy, but I just don't see Wardlow, who is actually coming into his own as a both a character and a wrestler, more than just a big guy. He's really shown me a lot, and I think that with Arn by his side, he's got to keep going here. And I love Christian too, but I got to
And,
go
and
Wardlow.
here and here's the thing too, because I'm going to agree with you on this one too. But with him in a ladder match with
Oh yeah,
Christian,
yeah.
that elevates his status. Christian will go that extra mile to put him over. I see maybe something coming out of this afterwards where we get a big man match between he and Luchasaurus down the road for something that happens maybe to Christian here. But I mean, this will go a long way to further the Wardlow character, I think.
Yeah, just like MJF did when that feud showed that Wardlow was more than a muscle bodyguard that didn't have a character of his own. I think you're going to, yeah, to your point, Christian's going to show that big mid man can wrestle my style of match and probably not the style
Hmm.
of match people can think. But we've seen Wardlow doing sentons and things off the top. That dude can get around for a
Hmm.
big guy. He's like the male Jamie Hayter to me, like someone at first I didn't get
Yeah,
that I totally
I'm
am a
there.
fan of now.
The male Jimmy. All right,
Yeah. Let's
I
let's
get it.
talk let's talk anarchy in the arena, Doug. We haven't had one of these in a while. The Blackpool Combat Club are taking on a reunited Elite. Are you happy to see the Elite back together?
I am happy to see the elite back together. I yes, I but I don't want to see this with the elite back together. But I think everybody involved in this match I really love as a wrestler. But I don't like these kinds of matches. And I would rather see all these guys wrestle, not like, garbage can wrestle. But
I mean,
it's what we're getting.
obviously, yeah, the Elite's going to do like crazy, ridiculous stuff that's going to, look like they may not survive the outcome. But like you, I've enjoyed the anarchy in the arena matches as they've happened, but usually after they're done, think to myself, I probably don't need to see another one of those. This will probably be the same where I'll watch it and I'll laugh and I'll cringe and I'll go, okay, that was entertaining. But would I rather see them in a straight up match? Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Do you see this as a pre-tape, something that they air, that they've filmed beforehand so they can stage some things, run around the arena? Or do you think this was happening live in front of the crowd? In years past, a lot of these were actually during the pandemic, which lent themselves to them having the pre-tape. I don't know where you place this match because in the context of a wrestling show, these sorts of matches really stand out when you actually have a live crowd, and not stand out in a good way. They just stand out.
Yeah. A pre-tape could be very good for this, like you're saying, where we have time to stage some bigger spots. And is it Matt Jackson that's actually legit injured right now? That is continuing to work through an injury? Because I guess that's one way to protect him too.
I'm saying that the Elite go over, but just because they have recently reunited, not that they need to go over for that reason, but I think that that's why they will, to get some faces to go over on the upper half of the card.
So who takes the pin?
Ooh. Sorry, Wheeler.
Sorry.
I love the dude, but you're the young boy. Mox don't want to do it.
No.
Yeah, that's the way I'm. Are you going Blackpool or are you going Elite?
I'm thinking Elite with Hangman getting the pin on Yuta, but
after failing to get his hands on Moxley or something, right?
Either that or CM Punk returns and causes the Elite a loss here because everybody gets to go to sleep and then he just shoots off into the night.
That would be an ending.
CM Punk returns.
For sure.
There we go. CM Punk returns. There we go. Let's put that in the title so we can get more hits. CM Punk returns.
Let's talk that men's tag team title match, Doug. I know you are a big Jeff Jarrett fan, especially at this stage of his career. You got FTR defending against Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal. Come on. I love Jay Lethal. I just hate that Jay is. I love Sanjay Dutt. I just hate that poor Jay is saddled with Jeff Jarrett at this stage of his career. I don't really have anything against classic era Jarrett, but between that and the giant dudes, Sangam Singh, I would want so much more for Jay Lethal than this. But this is what he has, and hey, at least we get to see FTR.
Yeah, and FTR is going over. They don't lose here. Sorry, Double J. But despite the shenanigans, FTR for the
FTW. I'm with you. We're more in lockstep on the AEW pay-per-view, it seems. Let's see if we can finish that one off with another that we predict the same way, because I'm going to argue with you if you see that any other way, but I think it's an entertaining main event. I like the way that you've positioned it, that your four pillars are all going to be in the same ring, and that means it's going to be plenty of exciting with this much young talent in the ring. But MJF is not losing to Sammy or Jungle Boy or Darby Allin right now.
No, because if you look at all of these, there's only, and I love all these performers. They're all great performers, but out of these four people you just mentioned, who else could carry the company right now and be your champion other than MJF? I mean, Sammy someday, Jack Perry someday. Not so sure about Darby Allin. He may have more of a Roddy Piper type career where he's never a world champion. I don't know why, but I don't see Darby Allin as a face of the company.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. If you look at it from a business standpoint, at what is truthfully the most important stage of AEW's existence since they, formed, and who has the charisma to be that person you put out there to love or hate. Not that these other guys don't have it, but in the instance of the first two you mentioned, they're still learning it. Darby has an unusual personality that I don't know will translate so much to being that face of a company. Yeah, MJF retains for many reasons, but I look forward to seeing how they get there.
Yes, that's going to be the adventure. Absolutely,
that'll be the adventure. And with that, Doug, our adventure, at least as far as our main event goes, is done. Awesome. We got 2 of the 3. That's pretty good, and in about the normal amount of time that we would have for our main event topic. So enjoy your Saturday afternoon, folks, and then your Sunday night. You got 2 to choose from, but you have the whole week to comment here and let us know what you think as these storylines unfold through this next week of Go Home programming. Let us know what we got wrong, and then let us know where we're just idiots on the thing. Like, there's no way in the world that's going to happen, because surely we got something so wrong that somebody wants to argue with it.
Yeah, sure. Are you trying to start a fight?
I'm trying to pick a fight. We agreed too much, so someone needs to disagree with us out there.
Kevin needs someone to fight with, please. Let him have it in the comments.
Let me have it, and let's have that big finish.
Let's do
Botch of the week. I want to start with Botch of the week, okay?
You go right ahead, because, Doug watches most of his wrestling on Saturday, so I ain't got a lot to say right now at the time we're recording this.
I think you might agree with me on this botch, because last week we were in lockstep on our botch where we called out Tony Khan for announcing he's going to have an announcement.
Right.
So this week Tony had his big announcement with Collision, which actually is the kind of announcement that the head of the company needs to be out in front of. That is legit. That is your big announcement. Yet this week, instead of giving us all the details, Tony teased yet again that next week we'll find out where the debut episode of Collision will take place. Spoiler alert, it's Chicago. We've all known for 2 months, Tony. No need to tease it in the announcement that you had teased the week before to your initial announcement. Just let us know everything that there is to know and make it the big deal that it is. You didn't need to tease it yet again when we all know that Chicago is where Collision's coming from. So that's my botch, Doug. Stop with the teases, Tony Khan.
I would not argue with that, man. And he's just kind of freaky and weird in that announcement too, wasn't he? He was like super hyped. It's kind of freaking me out, man.
He's a little freaky dude like that.
He is a little freaky dude like that. So I will be in lockstep with your botch then. Yes.
All right, then. Performer of the week.
Dude, I got this. I didn't see a lot of wrestling. I haven't seen a lot of wrestling so far.
Go for it.
This dude that wrestled Sammy Guevara, Exodus Prime. That is the coolest name ever. He is my performer of the week because of that name. He showed up. He did what he was supposed to do, which was losing like 9 seconds, I think.
But he's still the performer of the week.
But he's still a performer of the week because of that name.
Let's make him all. Doug wants to see a graphic of this guy with all elite on it on the AEW socials. Make it happen, Tony.
Exodus Prime.
And speaking of Tony Khan, the recipient of my botch of the week, my performer of the week is Tony Khan. Yes, I know I just gave him a botch, but this week was certainly a big announcement for AEW. I would say this is the biggest announcement for AEW since there was the announcement that there would be at AEW. This could secure the profitability of Tony's company for years to come. It could be the launching pad that takes them to that next level. They may even get closer to challenging Vince in terms of money and product, being already what it is, with even more money and more airtime to show that. You might have an even bigger dogfight on your hands here. You might actually bring back the old Monday Night Wars for real. There's just a lot to be excited about on the business end of this. This is definitely something that is going to be a big part of Tony Khan's legacy, one way or the other, whether it works out to the good or if people look back on it and go, well, that actually ended up being a mistake. But one way or another, let's give him this week. It was a very good week for AEW, a very good week for Tony Khan. Well played, Tony.
Just a very weird delivery of really good news. Kind of freaky.
Kind of freaky.
Kind of
Doug,
freaky, man.
Is that Prime Guevara match your match of the week?
Yes, it is. And you know why? Because the dude's name is Exodus Prime. I will fight anybody about that. That's the coolest name ever.
All right, guys. If you haven't seen Doug's match of the week, you have time to see it and mine because it's only like 10 seconds, like he said, but go check it out. There's some great matches this week on TV, as there always is in wrestling these days, it seems. AEW obviously putting on a great show on Wednesday. A couple matches there I could definitely say would be worthy. But I'm going with NXT and saying that the women's tournament that NXT is currently having, the match they slotted for that tournament in the main event, the young talented Roxanne Perez against the also talented JC Jane, was an exceptional women's contest. Exceptional contest in general, but I think to me just not only showed what these two particular young stars can do, but shows why there's so much NXT talent that got pulled up to the main roster in this latest draft. They almost have a glut of superstars that are probably blocking the paths of kids out of that performance center. NXT right now, I would argue, has the deepest women's division on any roster in pro wrestling. When you look at all the women involved in that tournament, from Fallon Henry to to JC to Roxanne to Cora Jade, Kiana Chan. I mean, there are so many talented women right now, and that doesn't even include a few that are often injured, like Dakota or Nikita Lyons. I mean, there's just so much women's talent in NXT right now. Best women's division in the game going. Check out Roxanne Perez and JC Jane.
I need to check out more NXT. I feel like I've been sleeping on it since it went to the Jackson Pollock version and then back to the black and gold, and I haven't really swung back around to it since.
HBK is doing good things, and I do think that he and Triple H must talk regularly because it seems a lot of the booking philosophies are locking up. They're probably planning the future. I think there's more synergy between the two shows when you see folks come up now, and it's not just here's somebody from NXT that's been there a while. Vince doesn't know what to do with them, so they flounder at the upper levels. I think we've seen more NXT success stories on the main brands here lately, and I think that we'll get a few breakouts from this latest draft class as well.
Excellent.
And with that, fans, you can see our schedule going across the screen here. We are off next week because there is pay-per-view starting from like Friday night all the way whole 72 hours of your holiday weekend can be spent watching wrestling pay-per-views apparently. But we want you to enjoy those. We will be enjoying those. Enjoy some time with your family. Enjoy some time off. We will be back on June 4th. With a show where we are going to grade out all of Triple H's returns as to how they've done since he rehired them and whether or not any of them have reasons to be worried. And then looking ahead, not on there yet, but the week after that will be the week before Collision. You know what we'll be talking about that week. So plenty of good things in tap for the month of June. We hope that you come back and enjoy the show with us and the discussion with us at that time. We'll see you then.